It was late and I needed to get home. I am a 27-year-old male and have been using Uber for about 3 months, so I was familiar with it and never had any problems getting from A to B. On this particular night, I ordered an Uber to pick me up. When the driver had arrived, I got a weird, unusual gut feeling, but I ignored it and slid into the back of the car. The driver's face was hidden in the shadows, his identity hidden by the dim glow of the car's interior lights. I hesitated, but the thought of the chilling night and my desperate need to get home overpowered any thoughts I had. I gave him the address and settled into the seat. The car moved into the darkness. The driver remained silent, the only sound the hum of the engine and the rhythmic tapping of raindrops on the roof. Glancing out of the window, I noticed that we were heading away from the familiar city lights into an area I had never seen before. An unsettling feeling settled in the pit of my stomach, and I asked the driver about the route. His voice, low and monotone, sent shivers down my spine. "A shortcut," he muttered, never turning his head to meet my gaze. Unease crept over me, and I considered asking him to pull over, but the thought of being stranded somewhere I didn't know stopped me. As we continued into the abyss, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from an Uber driver. I was concerned, as I had already entered the ride I had just started. Panic welled up inside me as I realized I was in a car with a stranger, not my designated driver. My mind raced, contemplating the worst-case scenarios. I mustered the courage to demand the driver stop the car. He ignored my plea, the car's speed increasing with every passing second. Fear gnawed at me, and I fumbled to dial the police on my phone. But the screen remained blank, as if drained of its life. Desperation set in as I realized the isolation went beyond the physical landscape. I was trapped in a dead zone. The road grew narrower, the trees closing in like silent witnesses to an impending horror. The driver's breathing became audible, a slow and deliberate sound that echoed through the confined space. I could feel his eyes on me, though I couldn't see his face. In a final attempt to escape, I flung open the car door and tumbled onto the wet pavement. The rain soaked through my clothes as I scrambled to my feet, my eyes searching for any sign of help. The driver's door creaked open, and he stepped out into the night, his figure illuminated only by the faint glow of the car's interior lights. I sprinted through the darkness, the forest around me swallowing all sound. My breath came in ragged gasps as I stumbled over uneven terrain. Panic and fear blurred my vision, but I continued on, driven by an instinct to survive. The driver's footsteps echoed behind me, growing louder with every passing moment. My legs burned, my chest ached, but I pushed myself to keep going. The trees seemed to close in, forming a wall that mirrored the suffocating fear within me. Just as I thought I couldn't go on, the distant glow of headlights pierced through the trees. I emerged from the woods, collapsing onto the road in front of an approaching car. The driver slammed on the brakes, and a concerned stranger rushed out to help me. As I recounted my harrowing experience to the kind stranger, I glanced back at the tree line, half expecting to see the ominous figure emerge. But there was nothing, only the haunting memory of a nightmare Uber ride gone terribly wrong. The police were called, and the imposter driver was never found. The incident left me with a paralyzing fear of late-night rideshares, a reminder that even in the supposed safety of technology, darkness could still find a way to prey on the unsuspecting. Safe to say, it was the last time I ever used Uber. I was a college student studying economics. I guess you could call me popular. While in class, I got invited to a party being thrown by one of my friends, so naturally I accepted the invite and attended. It had been an unforgettable night filled with laughter, dancing, and the kind of euphoria that only a lively party can provide. It was late, and I had drank way too much that night. I fumbled with my phone to summon an Uber, eager to get home. The car pulled up, its headlights slicing through the darkness. I got into the back seat, feeling a wave of fatigue wash over me. The driver, a middle-aged man with a salt and pepper beard, greeted me with a nod, his eyes reflecting a quiet professionalism. I mumbled my address and the journey began. The city lights blurred as we sped through the empty streets. I leaned back, my eyelids growing heavy, the thumping bass from the party now replaced by the gentle sound of the engine. As we approached a dimly lit intersection, the car's interior suddenly plunged into darkness. Confused, I peered out the window to see if the streetlights had failed, but the world beyond the car remained the same. Strange, I muttered, more to myself than to the driver. Before I could comprehend the situation, the car made an abrupt turn, veering away from my intended route. Panic tightened its grip on me. "Hey, where are you going?" "My address is the other way," I stammered. The driver remained silent, his eyes fixed on the road. I repeated my plea, my voice betraying a hint of anxiety. Still, no response. The once familiar cityscape transformed into a variety of unfamiliar streets, leaving me disoriented and vulnerable. I attempted to call for help, but my phone displayed a dreaded no service message. It felt as if the world had turned its back on me, leaving me at the mercy of an unknown driver, heading in an unknown direction. The car entered a quiet residential area, the silence broken only by the thud of my racing heart. Desperation clawed at me as I contemplated my options. I considered jumping out of the moving car, but fear held me in place. With every passing moment, my surroundings became more alien. Finally, the driver spoke, his voice low and detached. "You shouldn't have left the party." His words hung in the air, sending a chill down my spine. Dread settled in as I realized this wasn't a simple wrong turn or a glitch in navigation. Something far more sinister was unfolding. The car slowed to a halt in front of an abandoned warehouse. The flickering streetlight overhead cast eerie shadows, dancing on the wet pavement. The driver turned to me, and for the first time, I saw a malevolent glint in his eyes. "You're not going anywhere," he whispered, his words dripping with malice. A surge of adrenaline propelled me into action. I yanked at the door handle, but it refused to budge. Panic set in as I realized I was trapped. The driver grinned, revealing a sinister satisfaction. "You partied too hard, and now it's time to pay the price." In that moment, instinct kicked in. I reached for anything within arm's reach and grabbed a forgotten umbrella. With a burst of strength, fueled by fear, I smashed the window, shattering the silence and the illusion of control he had over me. Ignoring the pain in my hand, I scrambled out of the car and sprinted into the night. Behind me, the driver's enraged shouts faded. I ran until my lungs burned, until I stumbled upon a well-lit gas station where a kind attendant called the police. As the patrol car's lights brightened the darkened streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped a potential danger. I still stare at my hands from time to time, as the shattered windows had physically scarred me, reminding myself that even when drunk, no one can mess with me. I say this knowing damn well that from now on, that even in the midst of celebration, darkness could lurk in the shadows,